Welcome to the Luxury Listing Specialist Podcast with Michael LaFido, where top luxury agents reveal their best practices, plus interviews with real estate industry influencers, thought leaders, and luxury marketing experts. You'll come away from each episode with new strategies and tactics to dominate high-end homes in any market. And now for the latest episode of Luxury Listing Specialist. Here's your host, luxury real estate expert, coach, and trainer, Michael LaFido.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Luxury Listing Specialist Podcast. I'm your host, Michael LaFido, and you're in the right spot. If you're a broker owner, you're an individual agent, you're a team leader, you're looking to differentiate yourself and work smarter, not harder. As we go into an unknown economy, as we go into an unknown market, from time to time we share stories from attending our other people's events. And most recently, we were at a conference with a lot of top CEOs, executives, and there's no doubt about it. We are seeing a little bit of a softening of a market. So you're in the right place if you're looking to be prepared and be proactive versus reactive as perhaps the market does shift a little bit. Again, if you're getting value from this podcast, please leave us a like, leave us a 5-star review if we've earned it, as well as if you have a copy of our book, Luxury Listing Specialist, please go to Amazon. Same thing, if we've earned that 5-star review, please leave that for us. All right, today's guest, before I bring her on, just a couple housekeeping items. Again, if you have a topic that perhaps we haven't covered or you want a different perspective, please, we take suggestions. If you want to nominate somebody to be a guest, please do so. Just shoot me an email, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com, and we'll be sure to reach back out to you and let you know if it's a good fit or not. So again, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com is our email for our podcast. Again, Luxury Listing Specialist. This episode right here is episode, I believe, 194. 194, I believe, is today's episode. We're really excited about it. And designation trainings event in January of 2022 in Denver. And without further ado, I want to bring on today's guest, Jamie Taluk. Jamie, how are you?
Hey, what is up? I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty great. I'm pretty good. Thank you. And I love the for those of you that are watching the live stream, this recording, she's got a cool sign, faith over fear, in the background. I love that. So Jamie, tell everybody a little bit about you and how your story in particular. Part of the reason I wanted to have you on is, we tell agents a lot of things on these podcasts, right? We bring on a lot of different guests, but in your case, you had to kind of start over. But before we go and tell everybody that story, tell everybody a little bit about you, how long you've been licensed, and how long have you been licensed in your current location?
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I have been in real estate for, it seems crazy saying it, 12 years. Seems like every year goes by faster, doesn't it?
It goes fast.
Yeah. So I've been in real estate for 12 years, essentially right out of college in the down market. So that was fun, getting to learn the ropes in a down market. And then fast forward about 9 years into that was when I was in California, born and raised. And we decided we just did not want to be in California anymore. We wanted to move to Raleigh, North Carolina, my husband and I and our 2 kids. And so we basically picked up, left everything behind, and started over. And when I say left everything behind, we had a awesome team. We had a home staging company, and we had a retail design storefront. We literally said, you know what, let's just go after our dreams and start all over. If anyone can do it, we can. And so that's what we did.
Burn the boats, they say.
Burn the boats. I mean, honestly, that's exactly what it was. We burned the boats and we packed up and we moved. And I'm so glad that we did. I had the opportunity. Go ahead.
So real quick. So we have Jamie on, and she just shared how her and her husband pretty much picked up and left their book of business to go to a new state where she didn't have any, right? You didn't have a big database or sphere.
I didn't know who.
Yeah. And, at our designation training we recently had at Medina Country Club here in the Chicagoland market, we had a similar story, an agent who gave up his full-time job, right? He was a part-time agent to go full in. And I commend him for taking the risk. Always want to take a calculated risk. So let's talk about the calculations. Did you do any
Oh, yeah.
research as far as brokerages or where you wanted to join forces with or join a team, or any pre-marketing with any kind of lead gen service? Tell me about, or did you just pull the Band-Aid off and say, we'll figure out when we get there?
A little bit of both. So we planned our exit strategy over a year. And obviously I had built my book of business in my small town, by the way, using social media. So if it can work in a small town, it can work anywhere. And I realized the power of digital marketing. And so I said, I'm just going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it faster this time, right? I'm going to focus on digital marketing and getting in front of people, and getting in front of people before they actually move to Raleigh. Because as we kind of understand, after the pandemic hit, because that's when I moved, was June of 2019, didn't do anything for 6 months on purpose. But then January 2020 rolls around right before the pandemic hits, right? And so here I am, I'm like, all right, which brokerage do I need to jump ship to? Because at the time, I already had my North Carolina license. I had it for over a year before I moved. And I was at a small boutique brokerage, mostly just because the brokerage I was at in California allowed me to brand myself how I wanted to. And I think that's important. I'll never, ever join a brokerage that doesn't allow me to brand myself, because we are our brand. You know that.
Yeah, I tell agents all the time, think like a marketer, not like an agent, and you are your brand, right? Yep. Your brokerage shouldn't define you. Your brokerage should support you, but you as an agent are the brand. That's our personal belief here at Lux, and I know you believe that as well.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I focused on, and that was important to me, was being able to align with the brokerage that allowed me to do that. And so that's when I found EXP, January 2020. Hung my license there, put my head down. Before you know it, one day I look up, I'm like, holy crap, I'm about to icon my first year in a brand new market. And you're going to ask, how did I do that? Digital marketing, right? And so that year, though, I think we're going to look back and look at the last 2 years, maybe even this third year of 2022, as the Great Migration. So for me, I was like, how do I get in front of people before they actually get here? And that was through the power of digital marketing. So that was obviously calculated. I knew what I needed to do. I knew that how I needed to brand myself. I knew all of the things that I did wrong the first time I built my brand, and focus on the things I did right and just double down on those things. So that's how I was able to basically sell over 12 million my first year, not knowing anyone in a brand new market.
Wow, that's awesome. Good for you. When you say digital marketing, can you share with the listeners a little bit what that means? And if you wouldn't mind sharing a tip or two on digital marketing for those that maybe need help, or how you did it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can go on and on. That could be a whole nother hour conversation, but I'll keep it brief.
We might have to have you back on this. You might be our first repeat.
It's my passion project. I really do. I love teaching other agents how to build a brand through digital marketing. And I think the biggest thing is understanding your value proposition, right? Understanding your value proposition and having a niche. That niche is who you speak to on a day-to-day basis. And I think the problem is too many agents, whether they're new in the business or they're trying to grow their business, they think that if they speak to everyone, they're going to get more business. And that's actually the opposite. You have to niche down and speak to a specific crowd, right? And that's what I did. And so with digital marketing, that's tip number one, is niche down and speak to a certain demographic or whatever client avatar, right, that you're trying to build out. Because when you speak to them, your message is going to hit a whole lot better than if you're just speaking to everyone. So that's number one.
So that's number one, right? There's an old adage, you've heard me say this before, probably, Jamie. Generalists get paid, specialists get wealthy, right? So the name of our course is not Luxury Listing Generalist, right? It's Luxury Listing Specialist. The name of this podcast is same thing, Luxury Listing Podcast, but it's really about specialists, becoming a specialist in your market. And your message has to really be geared towards that demographic, towards that niche, towards that neighborhood, towards that town, towards that lake house property, towards that second home, whatever you want to specialize in, or whatever you specialize in. Does a potential buyer or seller know that? If they land on your website, if they land on a marketing piece, a brochure, a digital ad, is it black and white? Is it self-explanatory?
It needs to be. And if you're not, you're missing the point completely, right? That's the thing. With digital marketing, you can speak to a certain demographic and really hone in on your message directly to them. They need to know what you do and who you're serving. And if it's them, they're going to have this ability to reach out to you. It's called attraction marketing through digital marketing. And that's kind of what I honed in on. And digital marketing, just like you said, could be anything. It could be a Facebook ad. It can be Instagram ad. It can be doing video marketing. There's just so much about digital marketing that people need to understand is here to stay. And if you're not doing any of it, you better focus on it before you get left behind, honestly.
That's a great point. So those of you that are just listening or fast forward or watching this live as we're also interviewing her via video, we have Jamie Taluk here, moved from California, did not know anybody, was licensed already, but still didn't have a big niche, but used digital marketing to attract, to differentiate. And that's the key, attract. So there's two forms of marketing. There's lead gen and prospecting. We call that cold marketing. Nothing wrong with that. For those agents that are trying to build a book of business, that might be, and you don't have a database or sphere, that might be one way to do it. And the opposite of cold marketing is what we call warm marketing. And that's just it. Building a database, building a sphere, building your brand, attracting opportunities versus chasing them down. So niche. So number one was niche. What's your second tip with digital marketing?
Clear, concise messaging. I mean,
the confused mind doesn't buy, right? So
exactly.
Clear, you can't be a specialist to everybody, right? That's what we call generalist, right?
Yeah. It's just like, I think you might use this analogy. It's like a general doctor gets paid X amount, but someone who specializes maybe in open heart surgery, right? They get paid a lot. Why? Mm-hmm. They're not a generalist, they're a specialist. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing in real estate. If you want to break through that glass ceiling that you've been trying to break through for the last few years, hone in on your message, clear, concise marketing. Definitely.
That's great. And any number, is there a number 3 or any other words?
Oh my gosh, I could go on and on that. At the end of the day, come from a place of value. Give before you even try to receive. I think that's the biggest thing. Even no matter what niche you're focusing on, if it's luxury, great. If it's any other niche, same thing. You have to come from a place of value and give before you ever receive. Otherwise, you'll just never, ever be able to grow your business in a way that you're hoping to, because your message, you need to always be continuing to give, stats, give data, give. We're in the relationship business.
Yeah.
We're in the relationship business. You have to be continuing to give and building those relationships.
Yeah. And everybody knows a real estate agent in North Carolina or California or fill in the blank, right? Yeah. So you have to be from a place of giving. You have to differentiate yourself. By the way, do you have like upward, backward lighting?
I do.
Oh my God. I'm gonna remove my picture.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, huh?
Is that your home office?
Yeah, it's my home office.
I love the wall too. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Well, after the pandemic, I was like, man, we're spending a whole lot more time at home doing Zooms, doing, lots of different podcasts and stuff. So I was like, have to have that accent wall and the accent lighting.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's part of the brand. It's part of the brand.
ABM, yeah. Always be marketing.
Yep.
Purple, by the way, was my favorite color when I was really young. My mom tells stories to my kids on how I wanted purple everything. Purple. What your house?
Were you a Lakers fan?
No, I'm not. I'm Bulls. Come on, Jordan.
I know. I'm giving you a hard time.
So, all right, cool. All right. Well, so talk to us a little bit, at this event, for those of you that don't know, I do a lot of live events. We've done 4 in-person luxury designation. I'm the founder of the Lux designation, luxury listing specialist. And we've done 4 in-person events so far in 2022. We kicked it off in January in Denver. February, we're just outside of San Antonio in Fredericksburg. And then Miami Association of Realtors brought us down the first week in April. And then most recently in May, we had our training outside of Chicago. And we're going to have a couple more trainings in 2022, some dates and locations to be announced. But you were at our January event. Mm-hmm. You flew in, you invested, took time away from the family to come in. What was 1 or 2 big key takeaways from there, and then we'll talk specifically about your live stream and how that helped attract some opportunities.
Oh, that's cool. Opportunity. That's awesome. So biggest takeaway, I think for me, again, it just was coming from a place of value and not being afraid to share your value with others. And that actually started when I was in Denver doing that luxury tour and doing that live stream, constantly showing behind the scenes and what I'm doing. I think people are interested in what we're doing. And when you set yourself apart and show what you're doing, I think that really sends a message that you're constantly working harder to build whatever it is that you're building, whatever your brand is. So that was one takeaway. And then the other takeaway, honestly, was just, it doesn't matter if it's a $300,000 home or a $3 million home. You do need to have a process and treat all of your clients with the same type of luxury opportunities throughout the entire transaction. I think that was huge for me because I don't know why I never thought that way before. Although I did do a lot of the same marketing for, if a listing was that $300,000 price point or over $1 million, it just finally clicked for me that if you treat people the same and you always give that 5-star service, you'll be known for that. And that's luxury, right? Luxury is it's not just a price point. It's treating them in a way that they should be treated throughout an entire transaction. So that was huge for me.
Hi, it's Michael LaFido here with a quick break from the podcast. If you are committed to increasing your average sale price and you want to work smarter, not harder, then you want to visit luxurylistingspecialist.com for more information on the Lux designation along with some free resources. And now, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, the experience. You're absolutely right. I talk about silver platter service all the time, right? The Ritz-Carlton experience, right? You go to a nice restaurant, you go to a nice hotel, the level of service, the expectation should be higher based on the price point that you're paying for that experience, dinner, hotel night, whatever it might be. But you're absolutely right.
Well, I think too, if you've worked with people, like my age demographic is typically people that are in their 30s, 40s, early 50s that have either elementary to high school age students or children. This isn't their first transaction. Right. And so you want to be able to differentiate yourself. You want them to go, oh, wow, that was a different experience than I've ever had before. You want them to, you want to be memorable for all the things throughout the entire transaction.
Well, differentiate, memorable, a better experience. I like using analogies, right? I travel and you get on an airplane and the pilot tries to navigate and avoid turbulence and their flight path. If you ever look at, one flight from, Charlotte, North Carolina to Chicago, that flight a couple hours later or the next day, if you looked at their flight path, it's going to be slightly different because they're avoiding turbulence, lightning, all this, stuff that can make the ride safer or more enjoyable. Well, same thing through a real estate transaction. The more experience you have as an agent, the more specialist you are, right? You can see turbulence or potential roadblock ahead of time. And that's how you become more referable as well. So, we toured this $7 million property. We had Ashley Tate previously on our podcast. I believe she was episode 186, and she was the listing agent of that $7 million property. And her podcast, if you haven't listen, Ashley's licensed for literally about a year and a half, and she's got a $7 million listing. So on episode 186, she shares how she attracted that listing. But we toured this amazing property, and you said opportunities kind of came out of the woodwork because you were explaining, you were going into details. Your audience, people that were watching the live stream, you had said perhaps they didn't know that you were a luxury specialist and you worked in those upper price points. Talk to me a little bit about how that came about.
I think it's just showing the behind the scenes. People don't know what you do every day. People are curious and interested to see us as agents. What are we doing every day? And I always say if reality TV wasn't as big as it was, people wouldn't care so much about what we do, but they do. Think about like HGTV. Think about all these reality TV series that we watch. We're curious about other people's lives. So sometimes just showing the behind the scenes and what you're doing and furthering your education, right? That's what I did. I took time out of my schedule and spent the money invested in myself to learn from you at your course, your luxury designation course, your luxury listing specialist course. And so to show that and go, listen, people, I'm investing back into myself to better the experience for you, and just showing a tour of this $7 million property and what I loved about it, and just being so natural on camera, right? I think that's a big thing. People want to see what you're doing. They want to see your day-to-day, and furthering your brand and doing that just spells opportunity. And I want to say, if anyone's listening to this and you're afraid, because this is the biggest thing right now, people are afraid to go on camera. Just do it. That's how you look and that's how you sound. No one's going to judge you. You are your own worst critic. Start doing the video marketing. Start doing those video tours. Michael, you do them all the time. And I think people love them. And I think it's an opportunity to show a $7 million house. How many opportunities does the general public get to potentially look at a $7 million property?
Right.
If they're in that price point, none, right?
Right.
So
right.
it's just, it's good content. It's content and value that people care about. And when you put yourself out there, that's when opportunity arises.
Well said. Specifically, talk to about, you got somebody that reached out to you that was a buyer or seller. Talk to the audience a little bit about that just from live streaming. And I thought you shared some context behind it where they said, oh, we didn't know you did those big properties or something like that.
Yeah, it's awesome. So it was a friend of mine here in my suburb of Raleigh. So I live in Holly Springs. And she reached out to me and said, oh my gosh, one of our best friends, they're looking at selling their multi-million-dollar property up in the North Hills of Raleigh, and they want to buy here in Holly Springs, closest to us. I'd love the opportunity to share your information with them so you can take care of them. Would you be willing to work with them? Of course. So it was really cool, just me showing that behind the scenes and touring that $7 million property, that I had a friend of mine reach out and go, wow, I had no idea that you actually know what you're doing, is essentially what she said in so many words, but it's okay. I'll take it. But yeah, it was cool.
No, that's great. And again, for those that are listening, again, we also have a free live stream on Fridays called Luxury Fridays. Luxury Fridays. There's sometimes an exception to the rule if there's a conflict, but 95% of the time, same place, Fridays at 11 a.m. Central. You can literally go to YouTube, follow us on our YouTube channel. Just go to Marketing Luxury Group while you're on YouTube, and that's our channel, and hit subscribe. You'll be notified of any upcoming streams, or just go to luxuryfridays.com, Luxury Fridays. And perhaps, Jamie, we can have you back to go a little bit deeper in digital marketing in one of those episodes there. That would be terrific.
I'd love to. That's kind of my passion.
Well,
digital marketing and branding. It's important.
Well, you bring up a couple good points on today's show, and I appreciate that. So number one is, you can't be afraid of change. I mentioned earlier, maybe you heard burn the boats, and I won't do the story justice, but the story about burning the boats is, hey, don't look back, basically. Don't look back. If you're fully committed, you are fully committed. And so they sold off and move to another state. And I'm not necessarily suggesting some of you can't do that, although you'd like to do that. Maybe you got close friends or family or an elderly parent or something that you can't leave. Maybe your spouse or significant other has a job they can't leave. So you got to do the best with what you have in front of you. So how do you stay so positive? How do you, as a parent, you got a lot of ups and downs, parenting, being married, having a husband. Talk to the audience a little bit about what do you do to get yourself in the right mindset, positive mindset when we go through some turbulence. Because in this industry, we get kicked in the shins, sometimes daily or weekly or hourly, depending on where you're at.
Yeah, so you mentioned my sign earlier, faith over fear. I live by that, so much so that I got it tattooed on my arm, by the way. But we can't be afraid. Always do what you're afraid to do. That's something that I live by. If we live in faith over fear and fail, because we're going to fail every single day or very frequently, you need to fail forward. And that's one thing that I think too many agents get discouraged early on in their career, is they feel like they keep getting kicked while they're down, and then they give up. but you have to be consistent in order to make any type of growth in your business. Understand you're going to fail, but what are you going to do to get, through that? And I think the best agents out there that I know are usually the ones that are not afraid to fail, that just do it and figure it out along the way. And that's something that I always say, do it and figure it out. You just have to. You have to be resourceful. You're going to get kicked every single day, especially in the beginning while you're building your brand. But at the end of the day, when you stay consistent and stay positive and have a positive mindset and understand that you're just moving 1 inch closer to your goal and your dreams, that's what matters. So I just think, take every single thing that happens to you in stride and just know that it's part of the industry, it's part of the business, and that is how you overcome all of these things to build out what you're hoping to build. You can't just do it overnight. It does take time. Consistency, though.
Great message. Great message. So to recap, we have Jamie Taluk, top agent out of North Carolina, picked up and moved with her family from the West Coast to the East Coast without having a database. And she did so through digital marketing. And we talked specifically on this episode, number 1, niche, right? There's riches and niches. So with digital marketing, with print marketing, you have to have a niche. And then she talked about number 2, a clear, concise message, right? The confused mind doesn't buy, right? So you got to be clear, you got to be concise. When you're going on a buyer's appointment, when you're going on a listing appointment, you got to be clear, you got to be concise, and then you have to recap. This is what I'm doing right now, right? You have to recap when you're on a listing appointment, the buyer's appointment. You cover a lot of information. Recap at the end, the major bullet points to really hammer home those important messages. So some great information you shared today. Anything else that you'd like to talk about?
Oh, you put me on the spot now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know. Was there something else we said we were going to talk about? I don't know.
Hey, I see. I threw you for a loop. That's good. I'm making sure you're on your toes.
You had me on my toes. I mean, we talked about what we were going to say, but
yeah, no, we did. So what's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you? Somebody's got a referral in North Carolina, or they love your message. They want to hear more. By the way, you're also a co-founder of a huge group. I got to give a shout out there. Tell us a little bit about your passion project.
I guess we could have talked about that, but you put me so on the spot. I was like, dumbfounded. No, so I am one of the co-founders of Girls with Grit Collective, which is
Girls with Grit Collective.
Yep, it's a group for women in real estate where we empower one another, and I do myself and the 2 other co-founders, Tara McCarthy, which you also are good friends with Tara, and then Lauren Rocco. And the 3 of us, we coach, we train, we mentor women all across the country. We've got almost 8,000 women in that group now, and it's kind of branched off into some paid coaching for specifically for women in real estate. And we talk about a lot of digital marketing, branding, all of the things to help build your business, and basically a shortcut of what each of us has learned over the at least decade to 2 decades collectively that we've been in the business. And yeah, it's our passion project to help empower other women to not be afraid and to use their voice to build their brand.
Girls with Grit.
Yep.
You guys have a conference coming up, correct?
We do. Our conference is going to be in July, July 24th through 27th at the Don Cesar Hotel in St. Pete Beach. Tickets are still for sale if anyone's interested in coming. You can go to girlsofgritlive.com to snag a conference ticket. And it's going to be incredible. The whole theme behind the conference is essentially talking about passive income, all the different ways to have passive income. So that could be through Airbnbs, it could be through flipping, it could be rental properties, but it's going to be an incredible conference. There's probably going to be around 300 women there. And it's a great way for you to connect with other women all across the country, brokerage agnostic. So it doesn't matter what brokerage you're at, and just get new friends in real estate and referral partners. So that's another cool thing.
And that's girlswithgritlive.com, correct?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Well, I got it on the screen, girlswithgritlive.com. So I'm glad we talked about that. And I love, I should have talked about that earlier, but I love what you guys are doing there, raising the bar, helping build women up in their businesses and their home life and their marriage and whatever else. Both males and females, we have our own turbulence in our lives. So that's really important. I love that you're doing that.
Yeah, that's our passion project. So thank you for bringing that up.
Absolutely. Well, folks, my name is Michael LaFido. This is another episode of Luxury Listing Specialist podcast. I hope you found value today. Don't forget to check out luxuryfridays.com, Luxury Fridays, for additional information on us, as well as our upcoming free live streams, as well as our calendar of where Mike's speaking next, where I'm speaking next. And we're looking forward to my next speaking is not till June now, not till June. So I have a few weeks where we're not doing anything, no travel. So we're looking forward to that, a little calm before the storm here. Again, my name is Michael LaFido. You're in the right place if you want to work smarter, not harder, if you want to make a difference in your community, if you want to raise the bar for the industry. And I hope that's what we're doing. Again, you're listening to the Michael LaFido on the Luxury Listing Specialist podcast. For future episodes, if you have questions, you want to nominate somebody, shoot me an email, Michael at Marketing Luxury Group, Michael at Marketing Luxury Group. Until next time, prove others wrong. Take care, everybody.